Hello everyone, I'm Melvin. So today I'm going to do a presentation for my slide presentation for individual presentations. Okay, as we know, there is a three pillars of education. So today we are going to explore the three major pillars of educational psychology that define how we learn behaviorism, behaviorism, captivism, cognitivism, and humanism. Each of these represents a completely different test of understanding. So in this session, we will break down to the core theory of each approach. Okay, so the next slide is about the three pillars of learning. The first one is behaviorism, the second is cognitivism, and the third one is humanism. Before examining them individually, let's conceptualize them as a three different answer to the question, what is learning? Okay, behaviorism is an external change in observable behavior caused strictly by environmental conditioning, rewards, and punishments. Second, cognitivism is an internal process resembling computer-like information retrieval, structuring, and scheme formation. The third one is humanism, is a holistic developmental journey close at fulfilling personal growth, agency, and human self-actualization. Okay, so behaviorism theory and principle. So the pioneers for this behaviorism is by B.F. Skinner, Pavlov, and Watson. They argue that the treats the mind as a black box. The core assumption here is we cannot scientifically measure thoughts, but only action. Therefore, learning is defined slowly as an observable change in behavior. Its key mechanism is operant conditioning, which is explained that action followed by positive consequences are repeated, while those followed by negative ones are abandoned. Okay, so the next is behaviorist classroom application. How do teachers apply this? A classic example is a token economy system used at the primary school level. When uh, when Miss Sandy rings a handbell, it acts as stimulus, where students who respond by cleaning up and sitting down are reinforced immediately with a star token. The token score as a secondary reinforcement, which is eventually traded for a high value privilege. This demonstrates pure operant conditioning in action. So we will go to the behaviorism critical analysis. Critically analyzing behaviorism reveals a powerful trade-off. Its main strength lies in its predictability. It is incredibly effective for classroom, discipline, and teaching broad skills like multiplications. However, its primary limitations it is extreme reliance on extrinsic motivators. When you stop giving out sticker points or praises, the positive behavior often stops immediately because no intrinsic value was built. So now we go to the next slide, the cognitive approach. Now let's step away from observable behavior and look inwards. In the mid 20th centuries, the cognitive revelations changed by psychology. They argue the brain is not black box, but an active computing machine. Let's look at the theoretical foundations of cognitivism. So the cognitivism theory principle is paired by theories like Jean Piaget, Jerome Bruner, and cognitivism define learning as the internal processing of information. Our brain takes sensory input and encode them and organize them into mental frameworks where it called a schema. Rather than just correcting the rewards, cognitivism say that we learn by relating new information directly to what we already know. Okay, so the next is how this cognitive apply in classroom. Let's look at the secondary science application. To teach the water cycle, Mr. Oscar asked the student to describe what happened to rainfalls puddles on a sunny day. He used cognitive strategy first, where he activating the existing schema by asking students about puddles. Second, he avoids cognitive overloads by chunking the materials. Finally, students co-create structure, graphic, organize the visual maps to the relationship between them, directly helping them to transition that from working memory to long-term memory. Okay, so the critical analysis, cognitivism critical analysis. The cognitive approach is powerful because it's built through conceptual depth and metacognition. Students learn how to learn, but the limitation lies in its cold computer-like model. The human mind is not just silicon. If a student is stressed or unmotivated, maybe their working memory is compromised. They not stable, but cognitivism struggle to solve these effective emotional barriers, which leads to our next paradigm, humanism. Okay, so this is the humanism approach. The humanism was created as a direct reaction to the clinical natures of behaviorism and cognitivism. It is a one person without a central approach that says before a student can learn, they must feel safe, valued, and self-direct. Let's look at theoretical score. Okay, so for humanism theory and principle, the champion by Abraham Maslow and Carl Rogers, humanism centers on the whole person. Its core concept is Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which assert that safety, belonging, and emotional health must be met before high-level learning can even start. Carl Rogers added that teachers should act as non-judgmental, providing unconditional positive regard so students feel safe to grow and express themselves. So how we applies this in classroom in a secondary school? A humanist approach is beautifully exemplified by a self-direct inquiry project. In Ms. Hakim class, Student chooses their own topic and medium of presentation instead of receiving a standard top-down. Student conduct self-evaluation where they reading their own efforts and personal growth. So teacher just act as a guide. Okay, so the next slide is humanist critical analysis. The course rank is high intrinsic motivation and self-esteem because students have the autonomy and voice in what they study. They develop immense personal investment, creative confidence, and genuine lifelong curiosity. So, by prioritizing their emotional safety, this approach supports diverse learning, ensuring vulnerable students feel secure and valued in the learning communities. But their clear limitations is lack of structure and standardized rigor. The complete learning autonomy can lead to disjoint curriculum delivery, and some students struggle without direct explicit instruction. So, because their self-growth is highly subjective and individual, it is incredibly difficult to align with rigid, objective, standardized tests and grading rubric required by modern school system. Okay, the last one is the theoretical comparison matrix. For we can see here how the views of learning of these three pillars, for example, like behaviorism, change in external behavior, for cognitivism, processing of internal informations, and humanizing holistic personal growth. So we can see the primary proponents here: teacher roles, trainer roles, classroom rules, and many more. So this is the last slide for my presentations. So thank you. Bye bye.